This is Brent from TradeGuild.net. We're going to start with the SPY tonight. Of course, SPY is the spiders. That's the ETF for the S&P 500. Good benchmark. Like I always say, these ETFs for the indices, they always give signals, I think, better and faster than the actual indexes themselves. So what we've got today in the spiders, a gain, I think the typical gain today was about 0.55%, something like that. You know, a small star up here could be a reversal signal, but we've had plenty of them on the way up here. This has not been a real powerful trend. You can see MACD really didn't follow it, and volume hasn't, well, I guess it's gone up a little bit, but not much. If you look really at the bigger picture, this March rally over here, it started right over here. You know, volume's just falling off. I've talked about this a lot. The MACD, and I use that long-term MACD over here. You can see 26.52 instead of 12.26. I even use longer ones. I use 52.104. Play around with your settings, you know. Don't use the same thing everybody else is using. So that's the SPY. Let's take a look at something else that's really kind of interesting. This is the Dow Jones 30, and I'm trying to move a little quick tonight because I have a lot to show you. Here's the Dow Jones 30. Okay, we've got two moving averages. In red, we've got the 50. In blue, we've got the 200-day moving average. I've got two lines of resistance, and what we have looks a lot like an inverted head and shoulders. It would be a complex pattern, of course. Here's the other shoulder, right? We had a little breakout here, and then we have another breakout right over here. We don't have that great volume that we'd love to see if this is the start of a new bull market, which I don't think it is. But this is a really interesting pattern to see, considering. But this has been a wacky market anyway. So we'd like to see bigger volume over here. We'll have to see what it does in the next few days. Some traders, you know, are grabbing onto this, the golden cross, the 50 over the 200. Who knows? I really don't give that too much credit, but some people do. Now we're going to look at a bunch of long positions. You can find pretty much all these on Warden. Go to my website. I got the links there. You can check them out. First is China. Now China, just because of the name, these stocks like China and Boom and everything, for some reason they attract the momentum crowd, the Momo players, which is a whole art in itself. It's the art of stealing money from the market makers. It's a really hard thing if you're a market maker, because the way they do this thing, they just attack it like a pack of wolves. We see a little bit of a nice kind of rounding over here. We got a little bit rounding in the volume. It's picked up big time as it broke out, as it moved above the 50 and above the 200-day moving averages. So a lot of momentum over there. It's pulled back pretty good, and it's had a couple strong days of volume over here. And what we have now is this evening star. I'm going to zoom in close on that so you can see it. This is really kind of a typical reversal. Now, a reversal doesn't mean the trend is over. It just means this trend may be over, this short trend right here, which means we can come down a little bit, pull back. Maybe the 50-day holds as support, or we can go sideways, because price will always correct in one of two ways. Either it's going to pull back like it did over here, or it's going to move sideways and correct through time. But interesting volume on both days over here. It's grown, so this is kind of good. So China may be one of these momentum players, and when the momentum crowd comes, these stocks move huge. They move fast. I mean, this is a big move from $1.50 to $3.75. Percentage-wise, we're talking about a move, you know, of 143% in, you know, 2 weeks. Keep an eye on that. Here's another one for you. PLLL. Independent oil and gas. The dollar's getting whacked again, of course. You know, the Fed is out there printing money, I'm sure. Try to keep up with the spending. We've talked about these patterns. We've seen a lot of them lately in Playboy and then RTI that I showed you. It's an ascending triangle. So you can see the triangle and you can see the ascension. This is a bullish pattern. It's kind of a continuation pattern. So here's what we're continuing, the uptrend. So this is correcting through time. It's correcting laterally. Okay, it's not going down. It's broken out So it broke out above resistance. That's our resistance level that's been tested 1, 2, 3 times. And I like to see 5 points of contact. Okay, so 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, 4 points, 5 points of contact. Remember last night I told you it's not uncommon to see a little dip below support, because what this does is knocks out all of the weak long holders. Anybody who's holding long and is weak, it's going to knock them out. It's going to set off a lot of stops, because everybody is looking at this trend line over here and they're saying, well, I'm going to put my stop right down here. And if price are right over here, if price moves below that, I get stopped out. Market makers make a lot of their money on volume. So a really easy way for a market maker to make a quick buck is to trigger a bunch of stops. And he gets to pick up shares on the cheap. As soon as that happened, this thing took off like a rocket. And that is another huge advance. Let's take a look at that. From over here to today, 70% in 2 weeks. So, and look how MACD's picking up too with volume. So that's really nice. Independent oil and gas. Whenever the dollar goes down, gas, metals, stuff like that, commodities, they go up. There's a reason for that. I'm not going to get into it right now. Maybe one day we'll talk about that. TSCM, here's another long. This is thestreet.com. First of all, we've got what we'd call positive divergences in MACD. You can see MACD over here has a series of higher lows, right? Higher lows, while price is making lower lows. So this is momentum that's fading in the downtrend. If we just zoom in a little bit here, take a look. Remember I talked mother with baby, Harami, which is a reversal signal. So here's mother and baby is inside mother. Remember that. It's got to fall inside this candle. And that's a reversal signal. Today we had moved down. This may be one worth taking a look at on a pullback. I'm going to guess it may pull back either to this 22-day moving average, the blue, or the VWAP. So somewhere around 240, you may want to set a buy stop somewhere in there. You can see we've got support in that level. That's an interesting pick. We have RTI that I brought up the other night, right? We had a nice move in RTI. Some money that's been made over here from 17 up to 21. This ascending triangle, you can see I've already drawn it in. There's your resistance. Here's your support level. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, pretty much 6 points of contact. Volume's picking up. MACD is picking up. I think this is going to break out pretty soon. So RTI metals. Remember what I told you about the dollar, the weak dollar? Commodities, metals, gold, oil, stuff like that tend to do better when the dollar's weak. So RTI is an interesting one to look at. And if you recall, I said, take a look at the industry, industrial metals and minerals, right? So here's non-metallic mineral mining, HWD. Look at this chart. I mean, this thing just took off like a bat out of a bad place. We see that area over here of rounding volume, very typical area forward there to be smart money picking up shares on the cheap. And then we saw that lateral correction. We didn't see a big correction down, just lateral correction. MACD's picked up over here. Volumes really picked up. And as soon as it crossed that 200-day moving average, there's nothing magical about this moving average, but traders just watch it. Like I say on my website, Wall Street is a bunch of sheep. Be the wolf. And they are sheep. As soon as we got a cross over here of this 200-day moving average, it attracted a lot of interest. It also broke out above resistance over here. So that's HWD, which is part of metals. Probably, if you look at the group, there's probably a lot of good plays there.